Aloha everyone, Joshua Hayes at BigWaveTrading.com. This video lesson was really going to just review two big losers and maybe go over two big winners, but like I said in the last video lesson, we really are firing on all cylinders, and even though there's a lot of long positions out there and signals, I'm going to remind everybody this is not always the case. This is an indication of a strong market. At one point, I want to remind everybody, back here in the late 2018, I was only averaging 1 to 2 long signals per day on average for about 4 to 5 months. And that included a full week in December where I didn't receive one single new end of day long signal. So we compare that with now, and it's pretty absurd right now. And with all that being said, even without my monthly time segment volume on here, I can tell you right now, it is still technically bearish. The lead line has not crossed above the signal or moving average line yet on a monthly time frame. And my biggest number one top indicator that I have always used to know when to really push it on the long side is my time segment volume 24 with a 12 moving average on a monthly time frame. When the line is above the signal line, the moving average line, I tell you what, great things have happened historically. When it's below the line, bad things have happened historically. However, this time around, this is one of the first cases ever that even with the bearish time segment volume on a monthly basis for the S&P 500 since October, we have rallied higher. The only index that is traded appropriately to the negative bearish time segment volume crossover is whenever back in July, it went negative for the Russell 2000. And as you can see, since then till now, the Russell 2000 is actually down. So what's going to happen whenever this monthly time segment volume flips? I suspect great things will happen, and it appears the Russell 2000 will be the first to go. So with that being said, we're going to go over a lot of winners in this video lesson. But before we do that, I want to go over the two losers from today's session so we don't whitewash the bad with the good. So ZFGN was a new long position following this day here. I have a bullish candle over candle on heavier above average volume, pocket pivot point signal, and you see all the strong balance of power and all of these pocket pivot point signals and tall green volume bars. That along with the bullish price action, I got to be honest, I don't increase size right now. Right now, I'm treating everything the same. And that's why I'm holding so many positions and I'm so short for time. It's the most absurd way I've ever traded, and it probably comes from a scarcity mindset. I'm very, very, very risk averse, especially the older I get with this end of day overnight stuff with the current news cycle. But I tell you what, I wouldn't ever load up on a stock under $1. That's all you need to know. If it's under $1, trust me, I don't give a dang how good this chart will. I don't care if it has green bop the entire time and nothing but huge accumulation in pocket pivot point signals in this entire chart. I would never love any stock under $1, but I'm treating everything the same. That being said, this was the signal on ZFGN. If ZFGN triggers and fills, this is my first cut loss level, this low right here along these lows. And my final cut loss level is the final green bop bar day low right here following this pocket pivot point signal. Triggers and fills the very next session. Seems like all is going well, but on the second day after filling, it immediately runs 50% of my trailing stops. And in fact, I am lying to everyone. Following day one, I added a stop here. I could pull it up. Let me go. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and pull it up right now. It's on my other computer, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys. So it's got them all up here. So it appears on December 12th at 10:25 a.m. Maui time. I got long at 85.50. And then I sold some on December 13th to 81, December 16th to 80.80, December 16th at 77.53, and then this morning it hit my final stop at 71. So this wasn't even that big of a loser for me today despite the gap down because of my aggressive stop management. Had a stop here, that stop got triggered and filled. Put a stop 1 cent below this low a day, the very next day, that stop triggered and filled. Then this stop triggered and filled. So I'm already out of well over 50% of this, out of over 66% of this trade before today's session and the gap down. When it was gapping lower today, I had two stops. I had a stop here, which is splitting hairs, with a stop here. When I notice in the morning it's gapping down, I consolidate those two stops to the lowest one, and that triggers and fills today. But even if you didn't have any stops and you only traded on an end-of-day basis and you went long ZFGN at 83 and sold it out at 72 at the close of today's session, your total loss on this position is 14%. I always round up, and that's pretty nasty, right? That's a pretty nasty hit. But remember, we're dealing with a sub-dollar stock. It's not that bad. I consider anything 20% or less normal loss on the sub-dollar stock because I'm looking for a minimum. Whenever I go long anything that's under $1, I'm expecting maybe at best a double. So a 13%, 14% loss isn't that big of a deal. So ZFGN is the ugly duckling of the day, but that wasn't the only one. There was another one, AEY. However, when you look at AEY, I want to remind everybody, you notice these white little triangles here? The day that they fill, I add them to my telechart watch list. These cannot be manipulated. I cannot draw those. I cannot add them back to an older historical price. It's impossible to manipulate. So when you see this arrow here, you know I went long the next day, or else I wouldn't have added it to the list. Why would I do that? That's ridiculous, especially since I have a website where members see every single trade I make, and I post every single trade as they execute and fill in real time in the chat room. So there's ZFGN, which takes us to our next one, AEY. You'll notice back here, AEY, that was the first signal. Now AEY is in my perfect speculator scan, which is the highest quality of the highest quality stocks in the stock market. They're near 52-week highs. They previously made 100% moves off the lows, which means there's massive momentum. AEY, even though it was flat this day, that is a bullish hammer candle above candle. There was slightly above average volume, and you'll notice BOP increased. That's a good enough chart pattern. I went long, and I got long at 214. Now, everything was going fine with AEY, and in fact, I was doing really well with AEY at one point, and then I got an add signal right there. So I decided to add to AEY at 249 as the good to cancel buy stop limit order. That filled the next day. That now gives me a cost average of 231 on those two trades. So I'm in with the average price of 231 with those two trades. Everything was going fine with AEY, and I had a feeling, it still could go well, even though I knew earnings were coming up. Odds are with a stock that looks like this that they're going to beat with earnings. Well, guess what? I was wrong. And today, AEY sliced through a lot of my stops. And I'm going to tell you right now, these were the levels. At 430, 430, 430, 430, 430, 12 seconds, Maui time, 430, 15 seconds, Maui time. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stops trigger, and I tried to consolidate them all when I noticed it was gapping down in the morning, but with thin stocks like this, it's hard to judge where it's going to actually open. So it ended up peeling me out at 238, 238, 238, 238, 226, 221. When you add all 6 of those price levels up, divide it by 6, the average price on those cells was 233. Does anybody remember what my average cost basis was? 231. So even with today's disaster session in AEY, proper stop management still has me with a 16% gain on an end-of-day basis since the original long signal, and I still left with small gains, very small gains, despite the gap down with all 6 of those triggering. So AEY is technically still a winner. Why am I going over AEY? Because that was my second worst long of the day. I showed you my worst, ZFGN. That's an outright failure. AEY was my second worst stock. What was my third worst? There wasn't. Everything else pulled back normally. Now, there were stocks that were down in my portfolio like about 3, 4, 5%. I haven't written those down. But within the construct of their overall chart pattern, they're normal pullbacks. These were the only 2, quote, disaster trades. One was for a loss, and one is still for a gain, Remember, my average price cost basis is $231. It's at $248. So now let's compare that to the winners. And I'm going to work backwards via the way that I wrote these down. First off, ACA. This I want to show everybody what it looked like. This is the first long signal. It's canceling quality. Candle over candle, heavier volume than the session before. Even though BOP went the wrong way, it's still up at the top of the recent range. It then gives an add signal, heavier volume than the session before, another hammer candle, above average volume. I only think I got filled on one of these two signals. It then gives another add signal here, ACA, but gaps up on me, no fill. But ACA, at least from, I think I did get both of these actually, because if it triggered on this day, I'm not sure. But let's pretend like I only got long one. I can pull it up right now, but we're already at the 11-minute mark. I can talk forever about this stuff, guys. Which is why I don't understand why people don't ever talk to me. I can't get people to talk to me on StockTwits, Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. I'm not on Instagram. I should be. Or on LinkedIn, and I don't know why. Somebody left a comment on the last video lesson, and I went to reply for it, and it appears they deleted it. So, and it was a positive comment. So, come on, guys, show me some love. Hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell. Like, it helps motivate me to make these videos. I would love to start giving out new long positions again, but until I can start getting some feedback, I'm just going to keep showing everybody the winners. So on that end, let's keep going. How about CRTX, which I was completely knocked out of? I still have members long this stock. This is what CRTX looked like the day I went long and posted it. Hammer candle on heavier above average volume, pocket pivot point signal, increase in green BOP. Look at it, keep going. Look at what this one has done. 88% in a little over 1 month. Tell you what, that's great, man. When you can latch on to a few of these, it just makes a full trading year. CZZ. Everybody should be familiar with this one. Look at this one after today's session. We now have a 54% gain in under 4 months in a food stock. They don't all work like this, as I always say, but man, it's so nice when they do. And then how about a long position I gave to everybody publicly? Told everybody right here, get long Tesla with the move above 321.94. Good to cancel buy stop limit order 321.95. This was given out publicly to everybody that watched these video lessons. It's been basically picture perfect. It has shaken me out of half. I moved half of my stops to here. Get hit half of them either here or here, but I'm still long half of this position from the original long signal with a 23% gain in Tesla. I'll give Tesla more room to work than I ever will lesser quality stock, but that's just Tesla. And right there, there's a 23% gain in over a month. I mean, this is some great stuff right now, guys. HIIQ. This was the long signal this day. Hammer candle over hammer candle on above or heavier volume with an increasing green BOP. So whenever it triggered and filled here, it either was triggered and canceled by the Interactive Brokers Trader Workstation system due to having the lack of cash on hand for it, because the minimum I put per trade is 1%, which means if I don't have 1% when these trades trigger, they don't get filled. And or it just triggered and didn't fill, didn't get a chance to get back long it until it gave me alert that the bid asking price was below 18.16 again. Called it back on, got long HIIQ on December 2nd. Since then, boom, basically straight up. There's a 27% gain in about a little over 2 weeks in HIIQ. Then we have BBBY. Look at this one. There's your arrow. This is what it looked like. Earnings winner, high short float. This is in one of my perfect speculator scans. Candle over candle, heavier volume, max green BOP. I get filled the very next day. It was a little rough here, but notice how it holds above the 50-day moving average, holds above my final stop. Yes, I'm out of some of it. Doesn't mean everybody that went long the stock is. Either way, even if I only had 10% of this left, which I have more, that's a 35% gain on this piece of the position in a little under 2 months. Now we're going to the beauties today. XBIO. XBIO, this was the long signal right here. Wait, I'm off. Wow, the long signal was all the way back here. This was the long signal. Look at how long it took to fill. So on this day here, I have a bullish hammer candle over candle on heavier above average volume with max green BOP. 143 is my good to cancel buy stop limit order. The stock never triggers and never fails its signal because as it pulls back, it holds this low, never pulls back on above average volume, keeps green bop the entire time, and finally triggers and fills on December 3rd from a signal that came on November 7th. That's how long I kept it on the ledger. Now I'm long XBIO. As we move forward, this day happens right here. This is an ad signal. This happened to be yesterday, I do believe, or 2 days ago. So 2 days ago, XBIO gives me an ad signal. Candle over candle, heavier above average bop, or volume, increasing green bop. Boom, supposed to add to it, right? Well, today, guess what happened? Triggers up and through 139, and what does Interactive Brokers do? It cancels it on my end for one reason. I don't have 1% cash available to get long XBIO, so I have to be happy with my first fill. What did XBIO do today? Bam! Almost 15% gain. At one point intraday, it was up 20%. That's a 19% gain since I actually got long this stock. Oh, I'm going from the day before. I got to get to the right one. So, bam, we got a 13% gain, technically, from the time that I got the long price on XBIO. But none of these compare to the new long hook. This was the new long signal on hook. Bullish is a recent IPO. Already established higher lows. Already had a lot of green bop and huge accumulation. Has consolidated basically sideways with no huge volume. I got a bullish hammer candle over candle off strong price support on heavier above average volume. Increasing green bop. Got filled the very next day. Bam! Today. Awesome. So following this today here, at first, when I initially got long, only one stop right here, 100%. After getting long 50-50, and now it's a third, a third, a third. My first profit target, where I'll take myself out of half of it, is at 10.95. So if Hook can get up to 10.95, it will sell me out of 50% of it. But Hook is pretty nice today, right? Up 24%. Is that the best one we're going to go over? Heck no, because guess who is long? MIRM. Do you see where I'm long from? Now, funny thing about MIRM, this was an ad signal that I got long. Guess where the first signal was on MIRM? Bam. It's on the website. You can go look it up. MIRM is a new long position on 11.26. I have a bullish candle over candle on heavier above average volume, and it already has max green bop. It's from my IPO scan. It's in my max green bop for 5-day scan. This is an easy new long position for me. Unfortunately, MIRM either triggered, did not fill, or triggered and was canceled by the system due to having a lack of 1% cash on hand at the time it triggered. And MIRM worked higher immediately, and that kind of depressed me. However, bam, this is an ad signal. It's an extended ad signal, but still, this is what I consider a trend join signal. So, hammer candle over candle, engulfing hammer candle over candle off the 50-day moving average, heavier above average volume, still has that max green bop. The very next day actually got filled. Whew! And it was a good day on MIRM. But what followed was even more impressive. As MIRM did start to pull back, and it did knock me out of a little bit. I added a stop 1 cent below 873. That stop was triggered and did happen. I added a stop below 832. That stop did trigger and happen, but I had stops here, 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 and here. So I was only knocked out of about 15 to 20% of the position. And then bam, we had that day there, and we had this day here. And now on my other computer, I'm going to tell you, I've had profit stops along the way, and it's taken me out at here. Let's see, let's pull it up. It says 1140, 1210, 1632, and then another profit limit, not stop, limit was hit today at 2243. Where did I get 2243 from? That was the high of the day on December 16th. But look at it go. MIRM up 173% since we went long on the 6th. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days. 126% or 173% gain. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So now with MIRM, I now have whatever I have left, 50%. My next profit target is 27.28. So I'll set up a good to cancel sell limit order at 27.28 on the 50% of it, but the rest gets to just ride. And for my trailing sell stops now, 1/3 here, 1/3 here, the final third right here. I will not allow MIRM and stay long MIRM if it moves below 11.22. All right, everyone, going to wrap the video up there. We've hit the 20-minute mark. I will see you, hopefully, in the chat room. If you want to become a member of Big Way Trading, we offer a 2-week free trial. My rates are extremely low. I consider myself for the people. I'm not looking to charge an arm and a leg for my service. If you don't think a $600 annual subscription cost, which to me is extremely inexpensive, I know it should be more, is not worth it for a potential 173% gain in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sessions. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. But hey, if you don't want to become a member, I understand. That's why we give you the 2-week free trial to at least check it out. But if you could do me a big favor, if you made it this far, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button. And please, if you want to see something, if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Like I said, I can't believe nobody wants to talk to me. I'm a fun guy. Give it a shot.